Hello Internet world, welcome to the Belk Theater. My name's Robert and we're going to take a behind the scenes tour of some parts of the venue that most people never get a chance to see. Sometimes we do these tours in small groups, but right now we're going to do this virtually for all of you. You're going to get a chance to see above the top of the dome of the Belk Theater, where there's catwalks and lighting equipment and sort of an interesting perspective there. You'll get an opportunity to see where the follow spots are that follow the actors around on stage while they're performing. And you'll get a chance to see underneath the stage where the systems that raise and lower parts of the stage are located. So we're going to go to each of those locations now, and we'll talk a little bit about how those systems work and what they do. All right, welcome to the Chair Wagon storage area. So this room is actually where seats store when they're not in use, and you'll get an opportunity to see that. The Belk Theater has 5 rows of seating that can be either seats, stage, or orchestra pit, or any combination thereof. So if you've ever had a ticket that has a row of AAA or BBB or AA through CC, those are the seats that can be added and removed from the theater depending on the configuration needed. We're going to go look at the machinery that actually makes those parts of the stage go up and down. So this is what's known as the machine pit. This is the lowest part of the theater, and these are the lifting mechanisms that make the stage structures that hold seats or pit go up and down. They're called spiral lifts, and they're actually hollow. And this is actually 2 separate pieces of metal. This small, thin, horizontal part comes out the bottom of the case like a slinky, and this vertical part, the part you see me knocking on, goes into this case right here. And so as the lifts go up and down, those 2 pieces separate. So these don't actually go down into the ground, they stop right here. This is as far down as that part of the mechanism goes. So this can come all the way down to this level so that seats can be moved on. Those seats, which would go onto the upstage lift, are stored right here. And you see they look exactly like the seats that are inside the theater. In fact, we'll go sit in them here in just a second. So each of these lifts is capable of carrying 60 to 80,000 pounds, and these systems get their strength from actually having weight on them. So underneath this mechanism, there's actually weight that's been added to the structure to keep these columns or these spiral lifts rigid at all times. At the ends of each of them, you can see the drive motors that make them operate, and around the perimeter you can see the safety edging systems that prevent them from moving if something is in the way. These lifts are not scenic lifts, and they only ever move when the patrons are not in the building. So these would never be used to get scenery on or off of the stage, and just like an elevator, the state inspects them every year to be sure that they are safe. Welcome to row AAA of the Belk Theater, the best seat in the house. If you've sat in AAA, you probably didn't have a pipe over your head or a concrete floor though, and that's because these seats are in storage right now. And what I'm sitting on is known as a chair wagon. These look just like regular seats. In fact, they're the exact same seats as the rest of the theater. Same floor, same everything, except that they're on rails and they can be rolled onto the lifts and taken up to audience level when it's time for these to be seats again. Or that lift can be a pit. And we'll actually go to the pit now, and you can see the part of the pit that doesn't move. So this is the orchestra pit. And as you'll notice, the ceiling here is a little bit low, but most of the people who are in here would be either playing an instrument or seated while they're in here. And you might be thinking, well, this doesn't look like it's very open to anything, and that's because, again, this part moves. So this whole wall goes down, and these outer portions you see here slide up over this rear portion. And this whole thing goes all the way down into the floor and becomes more floor. And that's how this is exposed into the audience chamber so that you can hear the pit band. So now we're underneath the Belk stage. Above us you see the actual structure that holds up the stage floor, or as it's known, the deck. And these columns you see here are holding up the steel structure that the concert shell rides on. So when the symphony performs in the Belk Theater, the shell comes out from its upstage storage position as one piece, and it rides on rails on top of these columns' metal beams. And that transfers the weight through to the floor so that it isn't sitting on the deck. And you'll notice this room is also used for storage. So everything in here could be used to put on a show, whether it be risers or lighting equipment or even symphony equipment you see back there. Some large shows, such as Phantom of the Opera, actually require this floor to be reinforced, and so you can see some of the structure that's been added These beams that run perpendicular to the wooden beams have been added, and when that show is here, columns are actually installed down here that connect the floor into the floor of the building and add more structure so that the stage can support more weight for really large shows. So that's everything there is to see here down in the bottom of the Belk Theater, and now we're going to take what is a lot of steps to the very top of the Belk Theater, above the top of the dome, and look from there towards the stage. Welcome to the top of the Belk Theater. We're over 100 feet above where we were before, and we're actually above the dome in the top of the Belk Theater. So as you can see, you may be able to faintly see the outline of the inside of the theater through this dome, and that's because the dome, along with the rest of the ceiling of the Belk, is actually made out of micro-perforated metal. And behind that metal, in this case, is all of the equipment that makes the color-changing dome work. So these are the light emitters, and all these little cables you see go to all the thousands of points of light over fiber optics. Back in this area here is actually where we rig the chandelier for the Phantom of the Opera. So parts of this ceiling are removed, steel cable and motors are brought up here and rigged to the structure of the building, and the mechanism that actually holds the hoists that takes the chandelier up and down is all connected right up in here. As you can see, pretty tight working area. This is known as the front of house lighting cove, and here you can see the light fixtures that are used to shine light onto the front of the stage. And as you can see, we are quite some distance from the stage. Now we're going to go to the speaker bridge, which is where some of the larger parts of the audio system for the Belk Theater are, and we're going to go to the fly rail, which is where the system pipes that are over the stage are controlled from. Now we're in the speaker bridge, and this part of the theater is a catwalk named for some of the large speakers that are located inside here to hide them from being visible to the audience. You might notice above my head there's a piece of steel here that says Phantom Steel Install 8/5 to 8/14 1996. So this is part of the original installation that made the original Phantom of the Opera possible to put into this venue and added the necessary additional rigging points to make the show installed. This is the fly rail, or the locking rail, and this is where the system pipes over the stage, which are all of the pipes you see running perpendicular to me here, are controlled. Pulling down on one of these ropes causes the pipe to move down, and pulling down on the other one causes the pipe to move the other direction. These pipes hold lighting and scenery as well as soft goods, and some of the soft goods you can see here are hanging from system pipes. Despite what a lot of people might think, this is all still manually operated, so in order to operate this, they load weight onto these arbors, which you can see right here, and that amount of weight is equal to the amount of weight that is on the system pipe, and then the operator, at a cue, pulls on this rope after having opened this lock to move the set. And that is all done from right here. Now we're in a small reverberant space somewhere inside the Belk Theater. And we're here because this is kind of an interesting area. So here the shows leave their mark, and well, many of you attend shows and the show leaves their mark on you because you have the opportunity to experience something that might be once in a lifetime. Here they leave an indelible mark on the building so that we can remember that they were here. So let's look at a couple of these. We've got Hamilton here from 2018, but this is more interesting. We've got The Lion King from 2003, 2007, 2013, and 2018. So you can see some of these shows, they've been here a couple times. Welcome to the Follow Spot booth. This is kind of the top of the theater, and also from here we are 135 feet away from the edge of the stage, which at that distance means we need these very powerful, and as I'm sure you can probably hear in the background, rather loud light fixtures to reach the stage. These are operated by hand, by an operator. That's what these controls on the side do. It lets them control the intensity of the light, the size of the light, and the color of the light. You can also see there's an aiming device attached to the front of it so that they can aim the light exactly where it needs to be before they turn it on, because you wouldn't want to see them moving around the stage in the wrong place. There's 3 of these up here. Each of these has a 3,000 watt arc discharge lamp in it. The three of them together consumes about enough electricity to power a mid-size RV. This room has its own air conditioning and it's sound sealed from the theater because you can imagine with three of these running, they make a fair amount of noise. And the operators wear these headsets right here so that they can hear the cues called to them to tell them where to point the light and when to turn it on. Sort of keeping with some theater lore, they have names. These are Bart, Homer, and Lisa. The old ones before this were Larry, Curly, and Moe, and they were a different model. They were Super Troopers, which if you've ever seen Mamma Mia, and you probably saw the reference to it in some of the footage we saw just a second ago from its previous visits here, you'll know there's a song about Super Troopers. So there's a little bit of interesting fact for you. Well, as you can see, we've got the ghost light out on stage, and that's always the last thing that happens at the end of the day, which means our tour comes to an end here. I really hope you've enjoyed this opportunity to see some of the areas behind the scenes in the Belk Theater, and we look forward to seeing all of you again soon here in the Belk Theater. Thank you so much for joining us.